Can you talk about, has the internet provided an increase in demand for this type of thing? I mean, that's why you're seeing more trafficking?
It's made it much more easily accessible with anonymity, for sure. So, in the old days, at least some of us old guys can tell you could watch for cars pulling up to curbs and flagging down, running in, or running in, whatever the case may be. It's not that easy anymore. It's easy to get on the internet and hide who you are on the internet. It's easy for these predators to have week-long, months-long, years-long conversations, including these kids, with no real fear, at least they believe, of being identified or located by law enforcement. So certainly the internet has played a prominent role. Makes it easier for people who are running these organizations to advertise and sell whatever that commodity is that they're trying to sell. It makes it easy for those that are trying to partake with that commodity to do so without being identified.
Can you also maybe address the expansion of the pornography offerings, and then also maybe the dark net for just a half second too, and how that poses issues and problems?
Okay, so yeah, as you all know, we all deal with it with our youth, either our own or in our communities. Pornography now is easily accessible for young kids, down to grade schoolers on whatever age you want to pick. The internet has created that, opened up that market widely, makes it easier for kids to do. They don't have to sneak around as much or work as hard as they used to, or be identified as quickly by parents or teachers or law enforcement or ecclesiastical leaders. Certainly the internet has played a prominent role in the expansion of pornography, which leads in, can lead into the expansion in all the crimes we're talking about right now. I would have to assume if young people are spending many hours a day looking at pornography, it's having some type of very negative impact on them, and they need to acting out at some point in their lives. So on darknet, I'm far from being the expert. General Reyes can probably speak to that better. Certainly, one of our commanders, two of our commanders are here from ICAC that can speak to that. So Patty or Alan, you want to come up and speak about darknet real quick?
Well, Alan's making his way up again, just an observation. We work a lot with national partners and law enforcement, and a lot of the cases coming forward now involve enticing a minor to send a photo of themselves. And once this person has a photo, they can leverage that in unbelievable ways to extract more photos, sexual conduct that's videotaped. And again, the rise of pornography has also created, I believe, a real, I would say, smokescreen. There's so much of it out there, it's difficult for us to sift through everything that is technically legal pornography versus what is child pornography. And then you have far too many young people with an opportunity to make a quick buck, get a new iPhone that someone offers them if they'll just send some pictures of themselves anonymously, or someone's posing as their boyfriend, or there's all sorts of different machinations now that are available to entice children, and so quickly they can become victims of pornography, and then that leads to many other types of exploitation.
Just want to introduce Supervisory Special Agent Alan White. He's the field commander over the Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force.
Thank you. And as far as the dark net is concerned, its primary focus is anonymity. And anything you can do on the internet is amplified on the dark net. All the illegal activity that happens in any community is advertised and available on the dark net, including child pornography, which provides the anonymity. They can get in different news groups, they can chat on the dark net, and law enforcement is on the dark net, so that the anonymity is.
So, Alan, if you can buy drugs, weapons, body organs, little kids, all in the dark net, and you say we are in there, how do we penetrate that? Because I think it's one of the big challenges for law enforcement. It was designed to keep government out.
And it is the biggest challenge for law enforcement to identify them, because that's what the dark net was developed for, was that anonymity. And that's our big challenge in law enforcement. And we're actively pursuing that challenge to do the best job we can do on the dark net as well.
Is it true that one of the only ways that we get, I feel like I'm a lawyer reading the witness, waiting for an objection from counsel, but isn't it true that one of the only ways that we actually get access is by, in an arrest, we may find out that one of the perpetrators has access to the dark net, and we can then assume that identity and sort of live in that environment for a while. But the pernicious thing is you can't really get credibility in the dark net. You can't access the really most seriously deviant areas unless you are an active participant. So for law enforcement, we can't do that. We can't openly participate in illegal conduct, and we have entrapment issues. And so really a very difficult situation to try. Maybe I'm not articulating that.
That's very accurate.
But if you might, or if any of the guys might expound a little bit, I think that's a challenge that all of these law enforcement leaders face.
And it is, without actually taking down or having access through an investigation that brings us to the dark net, where they have that credibility, as the Attorney General has mentioned. It's very tough to penetrate the dark net in that aspect.
One thing that needs to be understood, the participants in the Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force, not only the AG investigators, but all these various agencies that support that by supplying men and women to work on that task force are very intensively trained, more intensively trained than any group I've seen in my law enforcement career. They spend many weeks a year in training, trying to keep up with the changes that are taking place, especially obviously within the criminal elements, but legitimate sites that end up being converted or perverted into criminal activity. They're highly trained, they're intensively trained, they get sick with training, and that is supported by federal, state, and local money. That is an important point that the community needs to know. These are very committed officers, investigators, to a really nasty job. What they see and what they do and who they have to interact with on a daily basis, that goes unseen. It's something that weighs heavy on all of us that are administrators and law enforcement, elected officials. We worry about them, but we need them, and we have to have them. But that's what they're doing all year long, every day. The training is a huge, and the funding is a huge component of our ability to infiltrate, especially things like the dark net.
Any other questions? Well, thank you all for coming. As you can see, we're working together really well. There's some great collaborative efforts in the state of Utah, and I appreciate everybody here for all of the sacrifice, as you know, so many levels of sacrifice here. So thank you.
And you see, before we use the chiefs, we have them, we wanted to take a picture with
Yes,
them.
everybody.
Leo,
So
and
yeah, so
so we can
the
kind of
whole group can
structure
come
this now that we
up
can
right
turn
here
that.
together.
Let's move this way. Turn that forefront. Yeah, we'll turn it. Can we kill the projector in the back? Hey, Dan, are you our AG guy? Perfect.